It is a Friday, the 22nd day of November 2024. Thank you very much for choosing to watch the Uganda Catholic Television. I'm Sunday Gloria Aboch with Uctv News. Now, in an effort to mitigate the spate of gender-based violence meted against women and girls in Uganda, the State Minister for Gender and Culture, Peace Mutuzo, has advised men to drop their chauvinistic tendencies. Now, while announcing the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, Mutuzo maintained that a man loses nothing when he does domestic chores like washing, which is apparently identified for their wives. Joseph Kabale starts us off with this report.
According to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, 95% of Ugandan women had experienced physical and sexual violence as of 2021. The Gender Ministry attributes the prevalence to, among others, the barbaric male chauvinism tendencies manifested within the society, where primitive intimate partners unleash violence against women and girls under circumstances where they find them not submissive.
Globally, an estimate of 736 million women, nearly 1 in every 3, have experienced physical and or sexual violence by an intimate partner. Non-partner sexual violence, or both, at least once in their lives. In the past years alone, 1 in 8 women and girls aged between 15 to 49 have faced intimate partner violence. And by intimate partner violence, we mean one partner who is called a boyfriend, a lover, or husband.
The State Minister for Gender and Culture, Honorable Peace Mutuzo, urged men to abandon male chauvinism and help their spouses with domestic chores, emphasizing that it doesn't undermine their manhood.
So there is no harm in sharing work at the household level with your wife, for as long as you know that it relieves her of the burden. If you want her to live longer, happier, and working, and even delivering a service to you, please share the kind of work, share her challenges, share her burden, and then you'll have a happier life, a happier wife, and also a younger wife forever.
Mutuzo also highlighted on the popular positive masculinity campaign, aimed at mobilizing men to utilize their masculinity might for positive causes, rather than subjugating their female counterparts.
Presidents of African Union have already cleared a campaign on positive masculinity, where positive masculinity indicates that men with their masculinity use it positively for a happy and good coexistence with women and the girls or children or anybody under their control, than using it for fighting, for beating up, for controlling, including controlling resources of a woman which has made by her own capacity and weight and time. And we find that dangerous, because no one will allow to be subjugated when they are empowered enough and when there are laws that can protect them. So for good coexistence, we appeal that men use positive masculinity.
She also acknowledged that some men are vulnerable to abuse by women and advised them to report such cases to authorities to seek justice.
Men should also begin reporting cases of violence against them. The laws did not sideline men. The laws were there to equalize, to provide an opportunity for whoever is aggrieved to be able to report and get justice. And therefore, when we hear about women who are beginning to respond within their confines of empowerment wrongly against their husbands, it's not right. Please report these women.
This comes at a time when Uganda is set to join the global 16 days of activism campaign against gender-based violence, set to be launched on the 25th of November. This year's campaign theme is towards Beijing Plus 30, unite to end violence against women and girls. Joseph Kabale, Uctv News.
Thank you, Kabale, for that news report. And away from that, government is conducting a feasibility study for the construction of the Mahatma Gandhi Convention Center in Entebbe Municipality, Wakiso District. Initially planned for Jinja with 50% funding from the Indian government, the project was delayed after the grant was withdrawn due to the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to Jimmy Kigozi, the Assistant Commissioner for Tourism Development at the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, the new site behind the Uganda Wildlife Education Center, measuring 11.4 acres, has been identified.
Ladies and gentlemen, you recall that in 2018, July, between 24th and 25th, Uganda, we hosted the Indian Prime Minister, Prime Minister Modi, and on his trip to Uganda, he made a few commitments, which included, one, the construction of a Mahatma Gandhi Recreation Center in Jinja, as well as the construction of the Convention Center in Entebbe. Now, all these were 100% grants to the government of Uganda. However, certainly we had processes that we had to undergo to ensure that things are done right. For instance, at the time we needed to identify the most suitable land in Entebbe that could house the convention center. Now that took us some time. You know, also the acquisition involves ensuring that the land that you've secured is properly registered in your names. So by the time we sieved through those processes, that's the time when COVID struck, and just like Uganda was hit by the virus, India as well was hit. Their economy was hit. So just after COVID, we received communication that because of the severe effects onto the Indian economy, government of India was pulling out from what they had already granted to Uganda. But then we're like, we've already secured the land, for instance, for the convention center. There was no reason whatsoever that could deter us from ensuring that we have a convention center. So as of now, the prospects are having the Mahatma Gandhi Convention Center, because that was earlier on the idea behind, you know, having the land in Entebbe.
The Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities has reported a decline in Uganda's lion population from 373 in 2019-2022 to 275 in 2023-2024, with the most significant drop observed in Queen Elizabeth National Park. James Musinguzi, Director of Community Conservation at the Uganda Wildlife Authority, UWA, revealed the statistics during the ongoing NRM Manifesto Week at the Office of the President. Musinguzi attributed the decline to human-wildlife conflicts, including incidents of poisoning by residents living near the park after lions prey on their livestock.
There has been an increase in human-wildlife conflicts in the country, mainly caused by increment in population. In about 1959, we were about to a few million Ugandans. Right now, we are over 40 million. So there is pressure for agricultural land, which has led to loss of habitat for the wildlife, and therefore some of the wildlife has ended up being entangled in community land. But also what we need to know is that apart from the wildlife that is within the protected areas, about 60% of this wildlife is in private land. So as the Uganda Wildlife Authority, we are working very hard to protect the wildlife within the protected areas, but also put in place plans of how we can promote collaborative wildlife management with the community areas. We are promoting wildlife wildlife-based enterprises where the communities can earn money from the wildlife that is within their areas. We are also putting in place measures to reduce the human-wildlife conflict incidences by putting in place trenches which prevent animals from crossing from the parks to the private lands. We are putting in place stone walls. We are also encouraging communities to put in place or participate in beekeeping. The bees don't allow, for example, animals like the elephants to cross from the protected areas to the community lands. We are also promoting other measures like planting of Mauritius thorns that are able to stop the animals from crossing. We are also under the Wildlife Act, compensation for loss of life and property was approved, and now we are carrying out compensation. So far, out of about 2.1 billion shillings that has been approved for compensation by the Compensation Verification Committee, about 1.1 billion shillings has been paid out, and 1 billion is being processed for payment to communities. So yes, there is increment in human-wildlife conflict incidences because there is increment in the population, and this has caused settlements in some of the migratory corridors for the wildlife. For example, the elephants used to cross all the way up to Sudan, and right now, when they try to get to their roots, they are no longer anymore. You will find that there are some communities, for example, in Inwoya, in a place called Nyamukino, where about 19 elephants have actually left the protected area and have camped there. And so there are instances of conflict, but there are measures that are being in place to address these conflicts like I've elaborated. So this is a problem, but we are working very hard to promote community conservation, community collaborative wildlife management with the communities and the wildlife authority. Because even if you put in place these measures, the ultimate solution lies with us working collaboratively with the communities. We are carrying out community conservation education approaches. We are promoting a number of wildlife-based enterprises. We are also trying to see how we can improve the community livelihoods through the various interventions I've mentioned, beekeeping and others. So that's the status. Regarding the lions, yes, it's true, the lions have decreased, and this is mainly as a result of the pressure caused by increased population. There are mainly challenges of retaliatory killings by the community members. You could have heard about the killings that happened in Queen Elizabeth National Park of lions through poisoning. We have 11 fishing villages in Queen Elizabeth National Park. As you may know, Queen Elizabeth National Park is a man and biosphere reserve, so there are communities that are settled within there. So there has been a change in land use because there were predominantly fishing villages, but now they have gone into agriculture, including rearing cattle, rearing goats, and now there is competition between the lions and those goats. So the lions kill the goats, and so the communities get angry and they retaliate by killing the lions. We are working hard to address this through the compensation that has been put in place, compensating for these animals. And we are now at the stage of reviewing the regulations, the compensation regulations, so that we can reduce the time that is taken to do the verification and then the compensation. And we think that this should promote and improve the relationship between the people as well as the management of the wildlife in the country.
Thank you for watching UCTV News. We'll return with more stories.
UCTV, good news for all.
Radio Purchase, the best value-based community radio in Eastern Africa, running 24/7 with professional staff and solar energy backup of up to 500 kilowatts peak. We rock the whole of northern Uganda and the world using 7 languages on 90.9 FM and 94.5 FM in Arua on Ediofe Hill, 99.7 FM at Moyo on Adua Hill, 101.4 FM at For God in Gulu, and online at www.radiopatches.org or download the Radio Patches app from Google Play Store and Apple Store. Radio Patches, peace of Christ for all.
That's all we had for you from the other parts of the world. Let's take a look at what is happening in Today in History. That's all time we had for you. Thank you very much for being a part of the newscast tonight. I am Sunday Gloria Aboch, and I wish you a very nice weekend.